Cognitive approach. The cognitive approach arose in 1950s, largely because the psychologists were frustrated that previous approaches had failed to explain cognition. With the arrival of computers, they could see a way of understanding and explaining human cognition. Cognition refers to mental processes which include perception, attention, language, thinking, problem solving, and memory. For example, when we cross the road, we perceive traffic passing by and pay attention to the traffic coming towards us. We may draw upon our memories of how to cross a road safely before we cross. This simple task demonstrates the complexity and necessity of cognition as a whole. Beliefs. Cognitive psychologists believe that behavior is influenced by cognition, so the way we perceive and think influence how we behave. The role of cognitive psychologists is to understand cognition and to develop models and theories that explain this information processing and how mental operation influence behaviors. Study. A significant area of research is study of brain-damaged patients. Brain trauma, for example by accidental or damage or tumor, can affect behavior. Cognitive psychologists study the damaged part of the brain and link this to the change in behavior, personality, or ability. This has led to an understanding of how isolated or interrelated cognitive functions are and where they are located in the brain. Features of cognitive psychology. Information processing. Brain works like a computer. Informational processing. Sensory memory. The first stage of informational processing model is the sensory memory, which provides the initial screening and processing of incoming stimuli. As the name suggests, sensory memory deals with any information that can be perceived through five senses. Working memory. Once it is decided that information is important enough for attention, it finds its way into working memory. The working memory provides temporary storage and manipulation of information being processed. Rehearsal. Rehearsal refers to manipulation of information currently stored in working memory. There are two main types of rehearsals: maintenance and elaborative. Maintenance rehearsal is the rehearsal in which thought or an idea is repeated over and over in order to keep it in working memory. Maintenance rehearsal is useful at keeping or maintaining information in working memory, but typically information does not get much further and is soon forgotten once attention is directed elsewhere. The second type of rehearsal is referred as elaborative rehearsal. With elaborative rehearsal, rather than just repeating information over and over, some sort of meaning is attached to a term or a piece of information. Through this process of attaching meaning in elaborative rehearsal, the storage of information is much more efficient, requiring fewer repetitions than the maintenance rehearsal. Generally, the goal of rehearsal is encoding or the storage of information into long-term memory. Long-term memory. Through encoding, information has arrived at the final stage of information processing model, that is long-term memory. Long-term memory provides permanent storage of information to later be retrieved. Unlike the previous two components of informational processing model, long-term memory has infinite capacity and permanent duration. If information is encoded effectively into long-term memory, we can say that learning has occurred. Brain works like a computer. A computer has an input, processing, and an output. It receives information via a keyboard, which is limited. A computer perceives all of this input. The brain receives masses of information from the senses all the time. The human brain pays attention to a small amount of this information. The cognitive approach in psychology is a relative modern approach to human behavior that focuses on how we think. It assumes that our thought processes affect the way we behave. Cognitive approach is scientific study of mind as an information processor. Thank you.